out of it.
All right, that's what we want to say to people. Hey, snap out of it. You know, let's snap out of it. Can we snap out of it? Well, we're talking, and we're very happy to have her as part of our commentary today. We're talking with Marita Noon, Executive Director of Energy Makes America Great. Marita, what about the pit rule? Can you talk about the pit rule? They're looking at it right now.
Yes, they are. In fact, I was just at, as I mentioned earlier, that the New Mexico Oil and Gas Association annual meeting, which is going on right now. And in talking with them, I was talking. Are you still there?
We are.
Okay, sorry about that. All of a sudden, you know how there's a kind of resonance when you're on the phone line, and all of a sudden it disappeared, and I thought, oh no, has something happened? I'm sorry about that. Anyway, they have submitted a new pit rule on Friday, and they are hoping that with the new administration that they will look at this reasonably. But it's interesting because I was talking to a lot of people there at the New Mexico Oil and Gas Association annual meeting about what is the difference in operating in New Mexico with the new administration. And the thing that they shared with me was, you know, the rules are still the rules. It's not like they are just tossing out the rules that exist, but they are now working with us to try to see how can we help you, how can we adjust things. And so for the pit rule, for example, the rule exists, and they're not wiping out the rule, but industry has had the opportunity to present a revised rule, because anyone that's followed that knows that there was a lot of corruption involved in Governor Richardson's attempt of putting in the existing pit rule. That it was really a cronyism issue, and it was designed to benefit some of his particular friends and campaign donors. And so the industry is saddled with this, and they are working on revising that.
So the difference again is that Richardson required the stuff that comes out of the hole where it's been drilled to be trucked to one of his cronies, yes, and paid extra money for them to dispose of it. And that extra money meant that a normal well at, say, 2,000 feet, going for oil, you might add another $100,000, $150,000 to the cost of the well, and that may be the point at which that field does not support another $100,000, right?
That is correct, and people don't understand the kind of dollar figures, as you're quoting, that are involved in the investment in these wells. And there are a lot of wells that are not that productive, and it does make the difference between, really, it makes the difference between creating jobs for people in the local economy or not, because that's what these wells do. They provide jobs for the people drilling the wells and the people maintaining the wells. They provide income to the local economy, and they provide a huge percentage of New Mexico's budget, both in the general fund and through the state land office on the state lands where those monies go to schools. So encouraging making these wells work for the companies is a difference of mindset. And other than the pit rule, the other general rules that I was talking about, they were telling me, no, the Oil Conservation Division, they don't say, well, let's just forget about these rules. No, the rules are the rules, but we want to work with you. And one of the examples John Bemis presented yesterday, he said, when paperwork is getting in the way of production, that's wrong.
Yeah,
so
right.
They haven't changed the rule, but they've streamlined the paperwork, where the paperwork before, and I'm not necessarily talking about the pit rule, I'm talking generally, but the paperwork before was an obstacle because you couldn't do anything until this was approved, and they would hold up the paperwork, apparently intentionally, to block your efforts. And now they're saying, wait a minute, if this paperwork is in the way, let's work together to figure out how we can streamline this paperwork and make this work for you. Yeah. And so the new pit rule that they have submitted will not change the impact to the environment, but it will change the way things are implemented.
You know, Marita, I'm reminded of a clip that we had from Deborah Seligman, who was with the New Mexico Oil and Gas Association. I don't believe she's there anymore, but
That is correct. She is not.
I want to harken back to something she said about the difference between what it was like doing business in New Mexico under the Richardson administration and up in Colorado. Let's play that clip and see if we can get some insight. This clip is probably at least a year old.
Colorado supposedly has stricter rules than the state of New Mexico. He said when you move forward for a drilling permit in the state of Colorado, they say do X, Y, and Z. And you do X, Y, and Z, and you get your drilling permit. In the state of New Mexico, you have X, Y, and Z that you have to follow. But all of a sudden, when you apply for your drilling permit, maybe X is asked to be a Y, maybe Z is asked to be a B, and now you've got a C thrown in there for the front of it. So you can't just, you don't just have rules that you follow. You have rules, you have a moving target.
And what you're saying, Marita, is that under Governor Martinez, the rules are still the rules, but they don't change based on the whims of bureaucrats.
Yes, exactly. And I was interviewing people specifically on that yesterday because you can probably tell this will come out in a future column. But I was at the New Mexico Mining Association convention a month ago, and I was hearing similar comments from people there. And there was a man who was at the New Mexico Mining Association who was an Obama supporter, and obviously I'm not. And he kind of picked a fight with me a little bit verbally at the dinner table. It was made for a lovely dinner conversation. But he was saying to me, oh, you can't tell me one person can make all that much difference, meaning Obama. And I said, yes, one person can make all that much difference because that one person appoints the people who set the tone. And here in New Mexico, we had Governor Richardson, who ideologically on the topic of energy was very closely aligned to where Obama is. And Governor Richardson was really made efforts to put through plans to underwrite, subsidize green energy proposals and to hurt fossil fuels. Well, that's the same thing that President Obama is doing. And so when we look at now, okay, how have things changed in the state of New Mexico now in almost a year of Governor Martinez being there? How have things changed for production? How have things changed for job creation? How have things changed for putting money into the federal or the general fund from the industry? And could we expect to see that same kind of change with a change in the White House? And I believe what's happening in New Mexico is kind of a microcosm for what could happen in America. That here we have kind of a little petri dish, little state of New Mexico, and we have a petri dish of what would happen with a change at the top for these industries that are job creators and wealth creators.
If you're just joining us, it is 41 minutes past the hour. We're talking with Marita Noon, Executive Director of Energy Makes America Great. Marita, have you actually gone out and watched them punch a hole in the earth and be able to pull some oil out?
I have watched various processes of it. I have not been present when they are, putting the drill bit to the earth for the first time, nor have I been present when the first oil came out, but I have been in the oil fields and watched many stages of the process.
I recommend those people that want to talk intelligently about it to actually need to do that. Maybe somebody can put a time-lapse camera and we can look at this. But when you see them triple case the well, when you actually watch all the records they keep, all the things they're looking at, what the driller looks at, you recognize that this is 100 years of technique and best practices at work. When you sit in a coffee shop with a driller and that driller says, Michael, I'm not going to drill in New Mexico anymore. I'm headed across to Texas. Why? Why, Ricky, are you going to do that? Well, because your rules make it too hard to have a profitable well. And then I tell this to people, and they go, nah. And I go, no, you got to go. You got to sit with these guys. You got to go out and look at this, and then you'll understand.
Well,
yeah, It's amazing. I did a piece a couple of years ago where I talked about it was when the pit rule was just implemented and what changes it was making. And I talked to a driller, a gentleman that has a drilling company, Universal Drilling out of Roswell it was, and I went and talked to him personally to write this article, and he explained to me that he had 100 rigs and how many people he employed and so forth. And I got turned on to this story because a man that I was chatting with told me, he said, my office is right down the hall in this big office building in Roswell from Universal Drilling. And he said, every Friday I used to watch kind of a parade of people, and there would go Mrs. Sanchez with her kids, and she would go down and pick up the paycheck. And then, there would go Mrs. Gutierrez and her kids, and they would go pick up the paycheck and so forth. And he said, I'm not seeing that traffic going to their office every Friday afternoon anymore to go get the checks. And he said, this is a direct impact on the people that need a job. So I went and talked to Angel, who owns Universal Drilling, and he explained to me that he's sending rigs out of the state.
Absolutely.
Because they can't drill here. It's not profitable.
So, Marita, a lot of people wonder, well, why do we spend so much time on energy, and why do we have Marita Noon on the show every week? And I hearken it back to, if you think about the economy and you think about this job situation that we're all facing and these tough things, I'm looking at the stock market, it looks like it's going to go in the tank again today, and things are really, really bad out there. Energy to an economy is almost like food is to the human body. You have to eat every day. And if you live in a state like New Mexico, aren't our mineral deposits literally like having free food to where you don't have to go and write a check at the grocery store or shell out your hard-earned cash? It's like free food, isn't it?
It is, and that's a good analogy for it. What people don't realize is that, for example, when President Obama says, well, we're going to do this, we're going to do infrastructure, we're going to build schools, we're going to do this, you're taking existing money that already exists and you're moving it from here to here. That is not new wealth. But what you're talking about, when we've got uranium sitting under the soil in New Mexico. We have coal sitting under the soil in New Mexico.
This
we have
is
oil.
the
We have
wealth.
gas. We have rare earths.
This is the wealth of New Mexico. Marita Noon, thank you so much for what you do. Marita Noon is Executive Director of Energy Makes America Great. We talk to her every Tuesday.
Yes, every Tuesday.
It is always fun.
Good.
Thank you so much.
New Mexico has rich reserves of natural gas and oil that benefit New Mexico in many ways. The oil and gas industry provides reliable energy that helps us to reduce our dependence on foreign oil. The industry also supports over 26,000 high-paying jobs. And get this, New Mexico's oil and gas industry pays over $6 million in taxes and other revenues to New Mexico's state and local governments every day. That was nearly $2.2 billion in 2010. These dollars pay for our teachers, build our public schools, and fund our universities. And communities across New Mexico benefit whether or not you have oil and gas in your area. With continued access to state, public, and private land, the oil and gas industry can continue to grow while protecting our environment for the benefit of New Mexico and the benefit of all of us. Learn more about New Mexico's oil and gas industry at www.nmoga.org.